The Knicks pulled off some insane salary cap gymnastics in order to land Karl-Anthony Towns, so much so that they may have pissed off the NBA. What's going on? I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Make sure you subscribe. Season is almost here, so hit that subscribe button. So here's what's up. The New York Knicks, in order to land Karl-Anthony Towns, they had to undergo a number of different salary cap gymnastics because of the new collective bargaining agreement and the tier system that created and the restrictions that come with those tiers. Without going too in depth into the tiers, the bottom line, we've heard GMs around the NBA talk a lot about how much more difficult trades are to come by right now. To this point, what the Knicks had to do was they had to sign three players that they had rights to, but three players who were not on their team in Daquan Jeffries, Charlie Brown, and Dwayne Washington Jr. in order to facilitate the trade to the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Knicks had to have more salary going out off their roster, so they signed three players utilizing the roster flexibility that the NBA offseason provides. They would not be able to do this during the regular season, nor would they be able to sign and trade a player during the regular season, but because it's the offseason, they're able to get away with this and send those three players to the Charlotte Hornets. The Hornets are going to get cash. They're also going to get 3 second-round picks for their trouble. So just for helping to facilitate this deal by having the Knicks send out more salary, checking that box, therefore making it a legal trade. We've talked about this. I was talking about it on X when the trade first went down. Karl-Anthony Towns to New York for, which is the backbone of the trade, Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo going to Minnesota. It's actually not a legal trade by the rules of the collective bargaining agreement, so they had to add those three players in order to make it legal. But that's not all. That's not all. Check out what else the Knicks did. So, and keep in mind, by the way, Dwayne Washington Jr. is playing overseas right now. He's on another team. So that's how far the Knicks had to go just to find three guys that they had rights to sign to contracts. Guys, they aren't actually planning on playing. They signed them specifically to trade these guys. So these players, they're all getting a paycheck just for being part of the deal, just for signing their name on these contracts. They're getting a paycheck just so that they can get traded. That right there is a pretty big hurdle to clear for the Knicks. That's being pretty creative. We saw stuff like that a couple decades ago when guys like Keith Van Horn were getting contracts after they had retired from the NBA just to be used in trades. Aaron McKee, I believe, had it done as well. But here's what Fred Katz said. The Knicks have discovered a new loophole. Listen to this. Teams in their situation can't aggregate minimums anymore. So, and that's part of the new CBA, the new collective bargaining agreement. So in the sign-in trades of Jeffries, Brown, and Washington, they're paying each of them $1 above the minimum. $1 above the minimum for each of these guys. What's going on is the new CBA says you're not allowed to aggregate, which means stack up a bunch of minimum contracts in a deal. They didn't want a team who couldn't afford a player stacking up like 5 players on minimum contracts equaling, say, $10 million and then going and trading for a $10 million player. So they said you can't put multiple minimum contracts in a deal anymore. The Knicks said, cool. Well, then they're not minimums. They're getting $1, one whole dollar, trading places style, more than a minimum contract. Now, talk about using a loophole and kind of getting around the new restrictive collective bargaining agreement, which, by the way, a lot of general managers, we're starting to hear from around the league, a lot of GMs are complaining about the new collective bargaining agreement and how difficult it's made trading. I don't think we're there just yet, but I do wonder if in the near future, we're talking about restructuring the CBA or putting an addendum onto it in order to fix some of these issues, because it has made, I mean, just to get Karl-Anthony Towns to New York, look at how crazy things have had to get. And here is what Fred Katz had to say about that. He said, I've heard from various people that the league isn't thrilled about this, but such is the way it goes with the new CBA. The NBA tries to close up loopholes, and then smart people working for teams find new ones. 100%. Look, the Knicks, give them credit. The Knicks, the Wolves, the Hornets, my goodness, the things they did to make this a legal trade. I mean, coming up with, okay, these guys can't be minimum contracts. We can give them $1 more than the minimum. And then by the letter of the law, it is a legal trade. Or even just thinking, hey, we don't have enough salaries on the roster without giving up somebody we don't want to in order to make this trade work. Let's go find 3 guys that we have rights to, sign them to brand new contracts, and off we go. Or even big picture, think about this. The Knicks, given where they're at, given how much salary they've spent, they are not supposed to be able to execute a trade that results in them actually adding salary to their books. It's one of the things. If you're above the first tier apron in any trade, you can only take back less salary than you are sending out. So think about that. The Knicks have found a way to actually add salary to their books because it's the offseason, and they re-signed players that they had rights to. They increased their overall salary only to use them in the trade, which means the net is they have actually taken on more salary by trading for Karl-Anthony Towns. They haven't done it just in this trade. They added salary by signing those players, but still, that's not really the spirit of the rule. The rule is you're not supposed to be able to execute a trade where you're actually adding salary if you are above that first tier apron. It's why two teams that are above the first tier apron make it's really difficult for them to trade directly with each other, because if they're both above that first tier apron and you have to take back less money than you send out in a trade, well, somebody's got to take back more money if it's a two-team trade, which is why the Hornets are involved in this. But still, the idea is to prevent these teams that have already spent a bunch of money from taking on more money in a trade. That's exactly what the Knicks are doing. And again, I give the Knicks credit. The new CBA was created to restrict teams, to prevent teams in situations like theirs from improving their rosters, from making trades that will make them better. And this is why you've got a number of general managers that are complaining right now about the new collective bargaining agreement. But it was created specifically to stop, or one of the things it was created for was to stop teams from adding salary via trade. And that is exactly what the Knicks found a way to do anyway. The Knicks saw the new CBA and they said, we can figure out a way around that. We're going to actually add salary to our books. Even though you say we can't do it via trade, that's cool. We're going to go sign these three guys off the street. One guy's with another team in Europe. We're going to add them. We're even going to we're going to get this guy to buy out his contract in Europe. And then we're going to sign him to a deal just to put him into this trade. He's going to get a payday, and we're going to do all of this to get around, to maneuver, slither past the league's new, crazy, too punitive collective bargaining rules. So if the NBA is upset with the Knicks, I get it. The Knicks just took all the spirit of the rules of what they were trying to prevent teams from doing, and they said, nah, we're going to do it anyway. We're going to find a way. We're still going to make it happen. And I give them credit. This is what teams are supposed to do. They're supposed to look for ways to exploit the new collective bargaining agreement, for ways to get around the restrictions and do what it takes to get to the end result, which is making their team better. So by no means is this complaining about the Knicks. No. Give the Knicks credit for what they've done. But apparently the NBA is not too thrilled that shortly after these new, more punitive CBA measures have been put in place, the Knicks found a way to crumple them up and say, hey, we're going to get the job done. Anyway, really impressive stuff there, but we'll see if the league has anything to say about this or if this is something they try to shut down in the future. Everybody, make sure you do subscribe right here to the Basketball Bulletin. Go ahead and hit that button. Doesn't cost you anything. Hit the button and subscribe, and don't forget to like this video as well. Till next time, see ya and stay safe.